All right, we are live on Zoom. We'll just wait for the other team members. And then I will. All right, we're live on Zoom. Let me just mute. Okay, I've muted myself. You have to mute on Zoom. All right, we're live on Zoom. We're live on Zoom. Let me just mute. Okay, I've muted myself. I have to mute on Zoom. All right, we're live on Zoom. Okay, mute. We're live on Zoom. Let me just mute. Can you hear me? Yeah, you can hear me now. So I've muted on Zoom. I'm hoping it works okay, because otherwise it just echoes. You can't hear anything. So I'll wait for the other ones. I said that already, but very distracting. I need a second screen.
Yes, that would be handy.
It would be very handy. Sent. I'm sure they'll be here momentarily. We're a little bit early anyway, so. It's opening. I've just finished teaching like 10 minutes ago, so bear with me as I bring up the other documents, and we wait for the other people anyway. So, two back to back.
What are you teaching at these days, Annie?
I teach in a variety of places. I teach for three, so I teach for world skills. So I think I told you about it. I went back to take my English as a second language.
Yes.
Certificate. I graduated in April or in May, actually. So that has been that's been great. So it's a retirement kind of project. So I teach for a not-for-profit in Ottawa. I have a private client, and I also teach for ESL, English as Second Language, at La Cité Collégiale, so which is our French language campus in Orleans. So much busier than I had planned on being. There's a really big demand for ESL teachers.
So is it mostly online, or are you?
Yes, thank God. I won't go in person, I don't think.
No,
Hi, Janice. It's just not worth the drive for me, because this is a retirement project anyway, like I said. So I'm doing it out of interest. I don't have to if I don't want to. So yeah, the thought of driving downtown Ottawa would be, and I don't know any differently than teaching online anyway. And once you learn how to do it, it's interesting.
Well, you'd think it'd be preferable when you're doing English as a second language. So much of communication is facial expression. And if you're all masked up, you can't see that.
Yeah, exactly. And that you're absolutely right, Bob. But it's no fun for me for a lot of my college students, because, well, college students, need I say more, they have their cameras off most of the time. So I find that a really big challenge to engage them, because I can't see. Yeah, and you're right. It makes a huge difference for me to, whereas my other class was a group of 8, a combination of newcomers and refugees. And it's great because I see their facial expressions. I'll often catch them when they don't understand something, because they don't always articulate that. But you can, at our age, you can tell by looking at people, so that I really enjoy it. So yeah, it's morphed into something that so it's full-time right now, which was not my plan, but well, I'm sort of pairing. One of the contracts is done at the end of the month, and so I still for Claire. I'm going to give Claire a little. Oh, it's only 5:02. We just like to give her a minute because she's got to close the store as well. So just bear with me. I've got the agenda here. And I'm just going to open up the minutes because I think I sent them to everybody. I'm not, yeah. Oops. So we'll just give Claire like 2 minutes.
I've got 4 of us marked as attending, including you for a change, Paul.
Oh, thank you very much.
What I did.
That wasn't a jab.
Yeah, what I did being semi-clever was I took a template from a former meeting and I just tick off. And unfortunately, Paul wasn't at that meeting. So
Is that okay?
Yeah, so I didn't think to add Paul's name, that's why I said semi-clever.
Well, we're happy.
Sometimes it blows up in your face.
Well, we're happy that you're here with us. It makes a big difference to have you here with us.
So please don't ever hesitate to say, hey, wait a minute. I don't think
No, that's why we ask people's for people's
That's the
feedback,
idea.
right? That's the whole
That's
point of
the
it. So,
idea.
you know, we can only do so much, and as volunteers especially, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna wait. I'll wait till 5 after for Claire. I'm gonna just send her a quick text for courtesy because I know how busy she is, and I know that she had planned on being here. So. So we are live. We managed to get live on YouTube this time. Got the right login information, so that's a good thing. All right. I'll just wait for her to respond quickly. It's not planning. We're not planning to have a long meeting anyway, so. So I think I'll go ahead and start. She hasn't responded quite to the text yet. I'm gonna just, everybody's got a copy of their agenda. Oh, here she is. Yay. That's fantastic.
Have we heard from Gary? Is he attending or we don't know?
Let me just check with him again. Thank you. That's another person. These people I have to call. Are you coming? I sent a reminder out. Did my part. I have to tease Gary because he's the only one I typically have. Hi, Claire.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, thanks. You?
Good, thank you. I just texted Gary to see if he's coming as well, but I think we'll go ahead and start. I'll wait to hear back from him. Welcome, everybody. I'll just share my screen so we can look at the agenda together, although I know that everybody's got, should have their agenda with them. Oh, it's not, but hold on, let me just, wrong document. Let me just open it from here anyway. All right, so it is now 5:05. So I'd like to call the meeting to order. We'll just wait to hear from Gary. Oh, yes, Gary's on his way, but we'll start anyway because it is 5 after 5. Any declaration or disclosure of pecuniary interests? Anybody?
No such luck.
No. Okay. You just want that to happen one day so badly, don't you, Dennis? Okay. So I'd like a motion then to for approval of the minutes.
Yeah, I'll propose.
Thank you, Paul, and the seconder, please.
Sure. I'll second.
That's great. Is this the? I'm just looking at the one Is this the correct one? Because I think you made a change to this one, Claire, did you not? So I don't think I have the right one. Let me stop
I
sharing
don't
this one.
see the
Yeah,
minutes.
so I think, but you can't see it? Okay, so let me go back to my stop sharing. I think that was not the one with the changes on, because did we not ask for, I think you added, Claire, the
Something about the
oh
wording.
yeah, they upset. Yeah, okay, so here it is. So let me share this. My apologies. Let me share the screen again. And that should be it. Can everybody see that?
That's more like it.
That's the one. Okay. Okay. So let me try this again. May I have a motion to approve the agenda, the proper agenda?
Yeah.
Please. Paul, thank you. A seconder, please.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you, Claire. Right. Wonderful. Thank you for that addition. And I did get some information. Bob did send ahead some information, so we can share that when the time comes. Okay. So everybody's had a chance to review. We had feedback back and forth in the meetings for the February 2nd meeting. Can I have a mover to approve those minutes?
Can we look at them again, please?
Can you look at them again? Yeah, bear with me then. Let me stop sharing and let me bring them up for you.
It's just that there's been so many different versions, I've lost track.
Of the minutes?
Yeah.
I probably have too. I think I've got everything.
Well, I thought you had. So let me just bear with me and open it up here.
Never hurts to be sure.
Yeah, I thought you, yeah, so that's the agenda. So the minutes of February 2nd. All right. Okay, let me share my screen with this one, Janice. Oh, this is the one I have. You know what, Janice, I'm going to defer to you because the one I have sitting in front of me right here does not include Paul's name on it as the people present.
Ah, okay.
If you don't mind.
Not
Although
now.
he's mentioned in the, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Now, I am not at all sure, frankly, how I can get my copy up onto.
Okay, so I can stop sharing. Let me just grab it. Just bear with me, everybody.
I must confess.
No, it's okay. I can share with you, actually. There's no limit to that here.
It's just
You should be able to square, you should be able to press share screen at the bottom, Janice, and be able to share your screen.
you have to move your cursor near the bottom.
Yeah, so where it says green, it's in the top and it's green, it says share screen in the middle at the bottom.
The note I'm getting is host disabled participant screen sharing.
Oh, that's not very nice, is it?
Which
Okay.
I'm not
Okay,
sure
try
which
that now. Try that again. You should be able to now.
Okay. And let me see, give me a couple of moments to just nip out, not far, and get the right minutes up. I've got a copy in front of me, but that doesn't necessarily get us anywhere.
No.
But you should be able to copy or copy, Gary.
Coffee.
Come on, you.
Can you find them okay, or?
Yeah,
Okay.
I've got them. Now I'll probably
Great.
have to scroll a bit for you, but let's see if
No,
I
it's
can
okay if you just share, yeah, just share your screen and go to the Word document. Have you done this
Okay.
before, Janice?
Not through Zoom.
Okay.
Ooh, no, I do not want to leave the meeting. Don't be ridiculous. I'm not getting Zoom back, darn it.
Can you see it, or?
I know what part of the problem is. Don't forget, I usually have only audio on mine. Let me get back to this. Because our internet is so poor.
Oh, is it okay? Does anybody
But
else
if
have
I
a
s-
copy in front of them by any
Yeah,
chance?
if I stream visual as well as audio, the odds are it disappears. on me.
Okay, okay. Does anybody have a copy in front of them of the minutes?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, no, I'm asking if anybody else in the group can share the screen with more ease than Gary might be able to.
I don't have the copy in front of me,
Okay.
but I'll send it to me. I'll send it to me. Just give me a second.
Yeah, I have that. I only have the copy for whatever reason of the one without the changes to it. So I've got the copy as well with my suggestions of changes. But My apologies, everybody.
Well, I'm not helping either.
Oh, I don't know if I have the most up-to-date ones either. Here, let me just see.
Isn't that funny? I'm.
I don't either.
Oh, okay. So I've got so you're the only one then maybe? Did we get a
I
final
have from
version?
I have them from the 6th, but there's emails after it, so I have a feeling that that's not the most official.
Yeah, so I've got the ones with suggested changes on it that I sent to you, Janice.
Yes, and I made the changes and sent out,
Okay.
it was primarily just a couple of words as opposed to
Yeah.
anything major.
I know the changes were. Let me just
Yeah, and
that's the agenda minutes.
I'm reading the first, well, the first change was to add Paul, with my apologies. The second change was to note that we changed the wording to Annie voiced the committee's dismay that despite the preparation of the report on fireworks, yada, yada, no mention of the report's findings. That was Annie's change and Claire's change. I didn't make the change based on what Paul and Annie discussed because I think it sort of came out saying they're going to get the right information anyway. I'm certainly willing to do so. That was simply what did we mean by, gotta get to the right spot.
Okay, so I've actually got the one that I made the suggested changes on, and I can
There you go.
share that screen if that is something that is acceptable to everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, the point of the meeting was to actually approve those minutes, but
Just share it and let's see if it's close.
so I think it should be.
The changes weren't.
So these are the
massive.
changes. They were not, as everybody can see.
Yep, that's what I did.
So don't forget Paul. And then I added, I just the wording, I might say dismay. Because I was wanting to make sure of that. There was no discussion of the content of the recommendation. I made that change, just so it was clear. And then the last one was that we didn't need to say that format to be determined.
Yeah, and I deleted
just to
that.
remove that. So Bob, can we make
do you want to just do the edit?
Yeah, and then just send it so we can actually approve it. I think it has to be more official.
I think so.
Probably. Hey, Bob, we'd have to actually, So we can give Janice a few moments and we can move on to the agenda.
Sure. But you can approve the minutes as amended.
As amended, we could do that, Bob? Okay, okay.
Do that.
Okay, so can we, somebody make a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
I will.
Oh, thank you, Gary. Seconder, please.
Sure. Yeah.
Claire,
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, everybody. Wonderful. Okay, so that was a challenge. Okay, so I'm going to share, Bob sent me an email this morning or yesterday, I can't remember when it was, with some of the clarifications. Maybe Bob, you'd like to speak to that, some of the clarifications of the information that we requested from the last meeting, just in terms of some of the definitions and so on.
Right. Well, I think based on discussions that just emails back and forth between committee members, I think people pretty well understand what commingling is. Ours is a multi-stream system, so we separate glass and plastic from the fibers. You have a lower rejection rate when it's not all mixed together. I think North Grenville was mixing it all together. I'm not sure what they're doing now. The difference in the 2 years, as Brad mentioned, was that I hadn't considered it before, but I gather they can keep track of it fairly well. The amount of rain and snow affects the weight of the fiber, much more so than the containers. But the fiber gets soaking wet, and you're paying to process a lot of wet fiber. So some of the tonnage can be accounted for that way. And then the whole rejection, You have dirty containers, inappropriate containers, black plastic, even though some of it is has a number 1 on it on the recycle, but black plastic can't be recycled. And so a lot of times loads get rejected because they're contaminated and it's too difficult to clean it out. Strip for disposal, as Brad mentions at the end of it, is when the whole load is rejected because it's contaminated. And this is what all of the loads coming out, I didn't realize it ours as well, but any of the loads going for recycling actually have the tippage fees built into the cost. Because it's in many cases, it's just going to go right to the landfill if it's rejected. So the tippage fees are already built.
They make an assumption that it's going to go to landfill because it's not clean.
I gather, yes,
Yeah, the
when
building and the fees.
my brother managed the waste transfer site at North Grenville's, and they had their tippage fees were built right into it. Like when they sent it off, they couldn't be certain whether it was going to be recycled or sent to the bin.
Do we know what would cause an entire load to be rejected
I'm
as
not,
opposed to just that item?
I'm not sure. Oh, I can't imagine it being one item, but I know for a little while they were concerned about if somebody puts solvent cans in, for example, or imagine paint thinner bottles or something. If there was a large quantity that's certainly identifiable as contaminated product, then that would cause the whole load to be rejected. But the guys are pretty good. I see Bill at the landfill going through the container and pulling stuff out and disposing of it to try and keep the loads from being contaminated. But again, you can imagine in the weather that we've had this week, there wasn't too many people crawling into a bin to try and sort through the snow and rain. So, yeah.
So it's more hazardous waste stuff.
Well, hazardous waste, or yeah, contaminated containers. A solvent container like a paint thinner looks exactly like a container for a windshield washer antifreeze. For a little while, they were considering that to be contaminated, but obviously someone explained to them, this is a alcohol or glycol that's in it. It is toxic. Drink it in large quantities, but an empty container could still be recycled. So it's the labeling on it and whether or not there's any material left in it.
And then the issue is if there are containers in there that have not been cleaned out, i.e. peanut butter jars tend to be some of the worst culprits because nobody likes to clean out the peanut butter jars. Then
I can understand that.
how then does it take many? I wonder. This may just be a question. How many?
I bet you it's not very many.
That's my feeling. So if one
I would
person,
assume.
yeah, me too. That's what I would assume too, Gary. So that begs the question that how many of them are contaminated if that is indeed the case? And I guess they don't find that out until source, right? Until it arrives at source.
Be interesting to actually get Brad or have Brad give me the number or one of us the number to contact our contractor and see how many of their loads, what percentage
That's it. Yep.
go off to landfill.
That would be very helpful. Yeah.
Just
It would
to
be
find
interesting.
out that, give us some kind of numbers. And I'm sure, I mean, they could give us a ballpark. A good tip that Bill at the landfill gave me on your peanut butter containers is microwave it first.
Oh,
So
I
this is
remember that.
this is something that we should definitely, it should be communicated if this is an issue to the residents by the village, if that is indeed the case. And this is something that that can be addressed.
So
I think the other thing you could also communicate is fairly, like, we don't want the loads rejected. So if they're not going to clean it, throw it in the garbage so the whole load isn't rejected. Like, don't throw it in and hope they don't see it, right?
You took the words out of my mouth, Gary. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Like that's a big problem. Like, we at least want to have every load, if we could, be accepted. That would probably be better than we're doing right now.
Yep. I think that's a very good point. I think that's definitely needs to be communicated. Claire, you'd like to add something?
I was just going to say, yeah, if we can get in touch with the contractor and find out how much is getting rejected and if they could give us a ballpark top 5 reasons or something like that, then we can definitely put something out to the community.
So, and this is primarily a container issue, I believe, but I can ask if fiber is a problem as well. Fiber doesn't, imagine it's rejected as option because it's either-
Pizza boxes can be a culprit in the fiber. I've heard that before, but I don't know to what extent. But
Okay.
yeah. So it'd be good to have that information.
Okay, so what
There's
percent?
pizza boxes in there every weekend.
Oh, listen,
You look over the side and there's pizza boxes in the fiber one every weekend. guaranteed.
There's most times when recycling day, when I run by people's boxes, without exception, I see there are problems in almost all the boxes. So people are not paying attention, or they need to be reminded, or we're not clear enough, or.
There's confusion on like wax lined fiber as well.
Mhm.
I
None
think.
of those are recyclable. No.
Well, and I even actually called about the pizza box question at one point because it appeared on the list the stuff was allowed at one time. And I thought, yeah, but it's greasy. I wouldn't call it clean paper. And I was told, yes, it was fine. So again, the misinformation is out there.
So if your
We just wanna
EAC
get the
committee
right
does not know,
information.
then we are in trouble,
Yeah.
folks. Right? If we don't know, then nobody else is going to know.
Exactly.
Well, it is on the website, the village website.
You have to dig very deeply, Bob. I challenge you to find it.
Oh, challenge
Well,
taken.
It's
Yeah.
not, I've heard that complaint many times. It's very difficult to find.
I thought on the curbside pickup, I thought if you had stuff in your recycle that was not acceptable, they just left it.
They don't sort through the blue
pick
bins.
it up.
They don't sort it.
They won't
There's
sort
no
it.
way.
No.
They won't
They-
sort it, but they should just leave the whole thing there.
They should. Absolutely, they should. But I really don't think that. I do not believe that is happening.
Positive, they said that in the spring last year that
Okay, then we need, again, this is another thing, Janice, I hope your
Yep.
notes are detailed, because there's a lot more information than we anticipated with this whole issue. Then we need to find that out, Gary. That's another question.
I think we all suspected that it's this bad. I think we all suspected that we really aren't doing very good. We just put stuff in a box and it makes us feel like we're doing something.
Yep.
But are we really doing anything?
Yep.
I think there's a lot of guilt and shame around this issue, and that isn't helpful. And I think that if we could make it a challenge for the whole community, like we're all making an effort. We haven't been the best recyclers. Let's all try and up our game.
Excellent
Let's use
suggestion.
metrics. Let's see what was getting rejected. See if we can beat that for the following year. Like if we can make it a sort
That's a
of
great
collective
idea.
effort.
I love that idea, Claire. That's a great idea. Does everybody agree?
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's a really good, make it a challenge, a community challenge. I really like, I think that's excellent. A great way to tackle this. Clearly, we have to tackle this. Should be I think we need to make it a priority. Does anybody want to add to that? That's generated a conversation I wasn't anticipating, so this is very interesting. Does anybody want to add to that, or anything about the recycling, the information that we got, or any, since we're on the topic of recycling, anything else that we should be suggesting or recommending?
I don't know, going back to the waste management plan recommendation, I don't know if we ever got a definitive diversion rate in terms of how much goes into the landfill versus how much is being recycled. I don't know if that matters for us in this conversation, but in terms of advising on whether to renew or do a new waste management plan, that was the main thing that was recommended in that former plan, was to improve the diversion rate. So we don't actually have that rate, as far as I know.
Well, they have the weight of every pound of garbage that goes in the landfill site. They weigh everything. So,
But we saw those graphs and weren't able to get a definitive answer.
Yeah. So, and I think we did for 2018 and 19, it fell apart after that, I think, if memory serves.
Yeah, it's not great data that was there. It's
No.
hard to make sense of it. So
No.
get it all together and then get this year's and try and put it in a more manageable format or understandable.
Yeah, if we can change it going forward, then that would be great.
That would be
And
great.
then for this, if we can just get in touch with the Limerick and get some information, that would be so helpful.
Yep. I'll get the phone numbers and find out if they'll speak directly to, would like one of the committee members to speak
I don't
directly?
mind making the call if I'm able to. I'm happy to do so. And it doesn't need to be Brad, I don't think, if they can speak to us. And
Yes,
I'm-
yeah, I'll just
I
see
can
if
do that. Yep.
they'll speak directly, and I'll just, or even just let them know what the questions are, and you can send the information.
Yep, that
Whether
would
they
be,
wanna, you know, whether it's a phone call or just, and get them to try and be as precise about Miracle Wolford's actual, as opposed to the rest of their clients.
so let us know, Bob, one way or the other, whether we can contact them or,
Yeah,
and Janice, you've got a list of questions that
Yep.
we need to pose. You've got those written down. Do you want to reread them so that we make sure we're not missing any of those questions, please,
Okay,
Janice?
let me get my several pages together here. I probably missed one or two. Yes, we got into under disposal. A whole load is contaminated and goes to the landfill. One of the questions is what determines the level of contamination where a load is diverted from any kind of recycling. We need to get a clear list. Question has come up on, do they leave a box when it contains unacceptable items? I know at one point that was done. Now maybe the way they're set up now, that's no longer it, but we need a definitive answer on that one. I got no, there was one last one I did miss. I got the idea, which is not a question for them, but the idea of Claire saying we need to create a kind of community challenge that spurs everybody to get it right and do it right.
Yeah, and that's more, my question was pertaining more to what we need to ask.
Yeah,
ask-
we want to get a clear format for the figures so that we know exactly what is being diverted, what goes to landfill in a detail that we can compare from year to year to year. We can perhaps not go back and get them to go through umpteen records. That's probably asking more than a little, but starting from here, if we can get a little more clarity in those categories, then we can do a better job. So we need to set up what format can we get the information from them that is
Yes,
doable for everybody.
so. Go ahead, Claire.
And a general idea is fine, an estimate is fine. If it's like, is it 1 in 10 loads getting rejected? Is it 1 in 5? It's like,
Yep, an
just so we
approximation.
know.
Yeah, so this, let's review then the question that needs to go to Limerick, and that is, what is the rejection? Now, what does it take for a load to be rejected, right?
Yep.
So presumably, we don't make that decision at this end. It goes from here and they make that determination.
Well,
I
good.
think the people taking the recycle make the decision if it meets their standard or not. So they
Yeah.
don't have to take it if it's not, if it looks not good enough.
So what does that, what does that mean? And the difference between, we also sectioned off or divided between what it meant for cardboard and what it meant for the others.
Yeah.
So what does that mean if it's, if the load is rejected from cardboard and the glass and metal? Are there any other questions for Limerick? I just want to be precise about those because they may have to, it may take them some time to do a little homework, right? So we might be better off emailing them to get that information. And then following
hope
up
it
that
takes
to the, I'm suggesting it might. So
I hope it takes them
Start with a
long.
phone call that sets up the fact that we'll send an email with our questions so that, as you say, they do have time to look at them. That initial phone call can sort of agree or arrange to do it that way, whatever is likely to have them on board. If we make it too hard for them, we'll go to the bottom of their list and stay there.
So we'll figure that out. You might be right, Janice. So we'll figure that out. Bob will get the contact information and the okay as to whether or not we can contact them directly, and then we'll determine what the best way is to.
Some of it just so you know, it may be, I think Waste Management handles the recycling for the county. So I'm not sure if they're involved in it as well. So it could be could be a circuitous route.
Could be, yeah. So we'll figure
Find
that out.
well.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Likely, yes, you're right, Gary, likely, but we'll get some stats behind us and then just put the challenge out there as Claire suggested. So we'll figure that out. That's great. Thank you. Anything else about in the discussion of waste management, recycling? Anything else anybody wants to add? Questions before we move on? Nope. Okay. So the next item on the agenda was the right of way habitation restoration program. Has everybody had a chance to just take a look at it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Great. Are there any questions, any points of discussion we'd like to have on that? I mean, we could all probably agree that it's more or less a no-brainer. That'd be something important that we should embark upon, but I would love to hear your feedback. I'd love to have some discussion about it. So anybody like to?
Well, just if I can get the ball rolling.
Yes, please.
Doug, Mayor Struthers, Doug is quite enthused about this. I'm not sure why, but he's quite enthused about the pollinator program, and he was wondering about whether this committee would be interested in approaching the Lions about any unused gardening plots, in the garden plots that are available from the Lions Club. They weren't all utilized last year, but planting basically pollinators around the village on municipal property, rights of way, etc. Unused. I'm not sure whether it's a simple case of casting seeds or whether you have to kill it and everything else.
I can inject here based on my altogether too long experience in the industry. It is never as easy as casting seeds.
Yes.
They'll try to tell you it's that easy. No, it isn't. Now, I was on the Communities in Bloom committee a few years ago. There were a couple of plots that hadn't been claimed, and I managed to get hold of some perennials rather cheaply. And we put them in there for two reasons. One, it gave us a chance to grow something on a little bit that we could then plant on elsewhere. And it also meant when they came around to do the judging, we didn't have empty plots. I mean, it looked better. But if there are plots there, it may well be possible to get hold of some seeds, yes, but get things started a little bit. If we've got a few items that we know are really easy to grow from seed and are really, really good for this sort of thing. And I'm more than happy to do a little research on which plants would likely be good for that sort of thing. And of course, for right away, I mean, it's got to be something that can do without an awful lot of work. Thank you. Nobody's going to be out there weeding and doing things in ditches for the next 6 years to keep it going. It's got to be something that is self-sufficient quickly. But I'm happy to do research on that sort of aspect of it. And I'm willing to bet the Wildlife Federation has got a ton of information. When I was scrolling through the website, I mean, it's got a whole bunch of reference material that you can get hold of. So
yeah, I'm sure they do. And I think the program itself, if you go through the details of the program, it's sort of, I mean, first of all, this was put forth, I think, in July of the summer ball. I don't know why it didn't move forward at that point. If we look at the PDF, if we look at the information that was the resolution, which was put forth in July, which I sent everybody a copy of.
Yes, July 9th was the email from the Wildlife Federation.
Yeah, so that's what came in for Wildlife, and I think they're just looking for our support. I can share my screen. I'm assuming everybody has looked at that.
Yes, my understanding of the program itself, if the offer still stands, is that they provide the seeds and the work to set it up in the first place in right of ways. So it really sounds like a no-brainer from that perspective.
It sure does.
It's a total win, but I don't know. The thing about the garden plots, my understanding there was that it's more of like a food security, like a annual planting situation. And I think the idea with these is that it's permanent, perennial.
It was simply if they had empty plots that nobody was using, nobody wanted.
That's different though. Let's not confuse the two topics.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's not what so I see that Doug is excited about that, and that's great, Bob, but I think that's not what's being asked of us right now.
Yep.
It's something definitely is a project that we could maybe talk about next meeting, but Claire's absolutely right. This program is already preset. It's all set. It's all, we don't have much to do. All the information is there, and the resolution that was put forth was whether or not we participate in the program, if memory serves. Yes, go ahead, Paul.
There was a couple of aspects that I picked up on this. Obviously, I'm totally supportive of this, and that it's talking about the rights of way, and the aspects that I found most interesting is that Lanark County is already doing it, and they actually have a climate coordinator who's responsible for this program. And I think council need to look at, just hoping this is going to happen. But I think the Canadian wildlife people are looking for an official contact and an official process and commitment. The other aspect is that it includes the roadsides. And I think that's important. That would be an excellent way of us being more environmentally friendly in the way we manage the sides of roads and letting them go more wild, not cutting, mowing to the levels that are mowed. And I think that if we could adopt that aspect of it, that would be a really beneficial initiative. And from the roadsides, if we could also get the county to adopt, at least in the roads within Merrickville, Wolford, and hopefully champion it on a county-wide process, I think that's the aspect that we need to consider as well, to make sure that we're looking at all the rights of way, not because I don't regard a garden plot as a right of way.
No, I think that's a different subject altogether. But yes, yeah. Paul, sorry I interrupted. Paul, is that
no, that was it. I think I'm totally supportive. I was also somewhat amazed or surprised, intrigued is the right word, by the length of time it's taken that letter to actually come to this committee, given that it was July 2021. 2021.
21, yeah.
The council actually received it and processed it.
Yeah, so it's here now. So this is the letter, just to remind everybody what actually the letter was received in the resolution. So I want to make sure that we're responding accordingly, right? So this is the resolution that was put forward. Council Village of blah 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 does hereby receive correspondence from. So that's just an acceptance of the receipt of the information. Yes. So, and then this is the actual email that came to the mayor from Canadian Wildlife Federation. And this was their request. Okay, they are offering financial and technical support in achieving our sustainability goals. So, although we don't, in this resolution, Bob, correct me if I'm wrong, it's not asking, it was more of a verbal, not a verbal, but email back and forth from CAO that what our recommendation was, but there was no resolution at all.
No, at the time, see, this is received, if you go up to the first page, Annie, have you got control of that?
Yeah.
You see that we received this correspondence.
Yes, so that's what it was, just the receipt of it, yeah.
And we received it at the end of July, so as you can imagine, not much point in trying to start a planting program in August. So yeah. There was no, at that point in time, at the end of July. Now we're looking forward to this year, and if the program is still in place, it might be something we'd like to take advantage of.
So in my opinion, then, and please step in, everybody, I think that, definitely something we need to participate in, and we need to acknowledge that or inform the Canadian Wildlife Federation as soon as possible of our interests, especially since they're offering the financial and technical support that we need. So from the description of the program, it's fantastic just in terms of what we don't have to do. So I'd like to have some discussion on that, though.
If there's an issue with staff resources, someone mentioned to me that there's a number of right-of-ways that intersect with Limerick Forest. And so their chief forester might be interested in helping coordinate over there.
Excellent.
I haven't spoken to him myself.
That's great. That would be great.
But obviously everyone on this committee, I think would be happy to volunteer if that's
Absolutely.
an issue.
Yeah, and we could, it would probably, this would be a great project as well to get others to volunteer and be involved in. It's an opportunity for us to lead a program like that, which I think that would be beneficial to all, right? It would be easy to get some volunteers to help assist with this. Anybody have any, I mean, there's not a lot of discussion about this. Is this the no-brainer that we think it is? We're making a recommendation that we do participate? Is that
There
what we're saying?
certainly is in the existing waste management plan. I remember going through it. One of the items that plan suggests should be done is this sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, and it's something that when we came back, took a first look at the plan, thought, well, that's something that's probably a little easier to tackle in terms of not huge outlays of money compared to some of the other items in the plan. And now they've got a program that can even help offset the cost. So to me, it seems like it would be foolish not to explore trying to do that this year.
So are we then making a suggestion that Public Works or whoever, because I don't know if it's the EAC can do this, Bob, you correct me if I'm wrong, that we take that step to apply as suggested at the bottom here, make that right, yeah.
Recommendation from the Environmental Advisory Committee that the village participate
Okay.
in this program.
Now,
Yep.
I will, the elephant in the room will be said, we're going to mention that or make that recommendation. I'm hoping that it will be discussed this time and not ignored. And I would like that. So there will be a guarantee. Bob, you'll make sure that this does not just an acknowledgement, but turns into a discussion.
In terms of, certainly we'll find out what it's going to take.
Okay. So is that then Public Works who will explore it further and then report to council what it takes to be involved in the program? Is that how it works typically?
I'm not sure if it'd be Public Works or not. It's besides just, the notion that we'd like to get involved in it, there's the question of what's required to get it started. So we'll find out from Doug Robertson what the first steps are to get it moving.
So, and typically that would be Doug Robertson that does that. Is there a role for the EAC to provide some assistance that way so we could outline some of those things?
Sure, I'll find
If
it.
that,
We'll ask Doug.
okay. So let's, if we can find that out, the EAC would like to proceed, and if we can assist in determining what the requirements are, then I'm sure that we can find someone that can help us do that. I just want to make sure this process does not fall by the wayside. What do you think, team?
So one comment I would just make is that in Lanark County, where they're actually doing this, the person who is responsible for it has the title Climate Environmental Coordinator within the Public Works of Lanark County. So that's where the program resides, in that organization.
Okay.
What was that title again, Paul?
It's a Michelle Valla, and she is the Climate Environmental Coordinator, Public Works, Lanark County.
Thank you.
Now, I got this from the CW, whatever it is, website.
Great.
They had a news release in 2021 when Lanark County launched this.
Excellent. So that would be a really good resource for us. Claire, I know you have something to say.
I just think in terms of the conversation that happens at the council level is hopefully we can stress that this is more than just nice flowers and a nice thing to do. Beyond the pollination aspect, it's helping with soil erosion and retention of water, which has been a huge issue in our municipality the last couple of years with flooding and things. So it's not just a bit of a feel good thing. It would actually be incredibly useful and valuable for the long term.
Well said, Claire. Well said.
The other comment I would make is that if we can get more vegetation down along our roads, it would be better when we've got snowstorms and blowing snow rather than have it keep drifting across the roadways.
Yeah, there are lots of benefits to it. So, I mean, go ahead, Claire.
Oh, it could also save money in terms of they suggest less mowing, and obviously you would need less invasive species control spraying on the sides of ditches and things, or roadways or road allowances, right of ways where they do this planting. So it could also, in the long run, save costs.
And I'm not certain what the relationship with the county is in regards to this program. So the may not, planting along the sides of county roads may not be feasible, but certainly our township roads would be. Again, the reason I'm mentioning that is because you don't want to spend a lot of energy putting materials at the side of the county roads and then having them come along and spray or clear it all up. So
we could also find out whether or not there are other counties that are involved as well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So there's an opportunity for us to work together to address that issue, Bob.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so back to what is
questions. I may just get hold of the Lanark County person and contact them. Get some
probably be the best way, because I'm sure there's going to be for this stuff to work really well, they usually want to have a coordinated plan, right? And so they're going to try and have different municipalities connecting, doing similar projects in similar areas, so that there's a continuous path of north, south, east, west sort of thing.
Great opportunity for us to work together. Great opportunity.
But there will be criteria, so it won't just be everywhere. It'll be where others are doing stuff. It's going to be, it always focuses around water, right? And then the paths from there. So, I mean, there'll be more to this. There'll be more to the planning than we realize. There's a lot,
and that's fine.
Yeah,
but we'd like to start the process. And back to what I initially asked. Who will start the process? Who starts to make the contacts? Is this something that CAO would like the EAC to do, or is CAO going to take the initiative on that? I say this because I don't want this to wait another 2 or 3 months and fall by the wayside. We need to act now. Claire, do you have something you'd like to add to that?
I was looking up, trying to find a right-of-way map of Miracle Wolford, which I couldn't find. It would be really interesting. I don't know if it's in the official plan or anything, but if that exists and this goes forward, it would be wonderful to see that.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of, I'm not sure if they're talking about rights of way or unopened road allowances, etc. Hydro right of ways, certainly. There's township roads that aren't opened fully, but the shoulders of the roads, I gather that's where some of it would be. And there's municipal spaces as well. I mean, when you consider Wolford, the Wolford garage, there's a couple acres of land around there as well. I mean, there's lots of
Eastlands Corners.
Yeah, exactly.
Property there, and I mean, I think that's more of the.
So they're talking here rights of way, including roadsides and other transportation and utility corridors are open, sunny areas, and often require a low-growing vegetation for safety, access, and visibility. So they include roadside and other transportation in the right of way. So, yeah.
So easily accessible public spaces, basically.
Yeah. It'd be nice if they could get some machinery in to scratch the soil up first.
They do, I think.
Yeah. Paul, could you give me the name and title of the Lanark County person again? I'm sorry I didn't get it down.
It was a Michelle Vala, V-A-L-A. And it's Climate Environmental Coordinator. I found her name. It's on the Canadian, whatever the organization that are offering this. It's on their website.
Canadian Wildlife Federation.
Okay.
Yeah, on the News Media Releases 2021. That's where I got the name from.
Great. Okay, thanks, Paul.
Okay, so Bob, you're going to let us know what the approach will be to express, so we can figure out what's going on. We don't really know the details yet, so. right?
No,
We have to
exactly.
figure
The
that
next
out.
steps, it's always the first, you know, the ignition. It's what we're
Yeah.
looking for to get this
Yeah.
started.
So I don't know how everybody else feels about this, but I'd certainly like to make this a priority. So we can if we can get some information by next meeting. What does everybody think about that?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Sure.
yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Any additional information, questions, or concerns about this before we move on? Because I think it could be exciting and it could be a great opportunity to work with other counties, other townships or whatever. I mean, this could be a great project. And as Claire so rightly pointed out, this is not about pretty flowers. It's about so much more than that.
Although I have nothing against pretty flowers.
No, but yeah, no, of course not. But, you know,
But given the experience, obviously the Wildlife Federation, I mean, there's guidance out there available.
exactly, yeah,
And with that kind of backing that kind of let us know step by
exactly.
step what they did and how it worked, I think it'd be foolish not to try and take part in something like this.
So do we have a recommendation, EAC, for our council? And somebody like to word that? Claire's like, why does it always fall on me?
I was just thinking, so my understanding is council has not responded or gotten in touch with the Federation about this to this point.
Doesn't say that. It just says, no, that they've acknowledged receipt of the information in the email. That's it.
So would our first step to be to recommend that council have somebody respond promptly with an exception or at least an investigation into the terms?
Or an
Expression of interest, perhaps?
expression of interest, yeah.
Yeah, it just needs to be
Yes, please.
simple. You just say that we would highly recommend our municipal involvement in this project and that we should seek information on participation. You give them all the chance to find out and just go do it, right?
Yeah, but Claire makes a separate point, and that is to repeat that, please, Claire, is just to acknowledge, to let the Canadian Wildlife Federation that we are interested. There is an expression of interest now, sooner than later.
Yes,
Yeah.
because for planting prep, we're quickly approaching that time.
For implementation in 2022. That's what we want to do.
That'd be great.
That'd be great. Yes, Paul, that'd be great. So we would like that. So Janice, if you can make note of that as well. We recommend that council respond to Canadian Wildlife Federation, let them know there was of an expression of interest in the project and participating in the project, whatever the.
And I
Go ahead,
especially
Bob.
like that we want to do it this year, not next year. Or at least start this year, not wait.
Yeah, I think there's planning to do and stuff. So we need to see what they have to offer and what resources they have, because they may have 6 other ones going on. We might fall to the bottom of the list.
Yep.
Right.
But we don't know until we
There
find
might
that
be
information.
5 left over.
Which is all the more reason why we have to get that expression of interest
From
in
last year,
ASAP,
never started.
right?
So yeah, so what
So
you
that
want to do
we-
is get
So that we can get on that list and be part of that as soon as possible. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so is that clear, Bob? Is that?
Yep. No,
Awesome.
I've got my,
So because we're not going to get the minutes approved to you by the next meeting. So how do we make sure that you bring that up, and will you then talk about
oh
that?
no, I'll be emailing Doug Robertson tomorrow.
Okay,
And just
so it doesn't have to
explain
be a formal.
Well, we'll get it started, and then
Okay,
the recommendation, I'll explain that the EAC committee would like to recommend to council, but he'll know this going forward, and then perhaps if there's any starting steps that the committee can do, I'll forward the information to you as well. And
So do we need to put a resolution so you have that for your meeting? Because the minutes will not be approved for your next meeting, but a resolution could be, right? It can go.
I don't think it'll make Monday's meeting, but the 14th,
Okay.
March 14th. Certainly.
Yeah, but our minutes won't make March 14th, but a resolution doesn't. So a resolution is separate, right? That's what I'm trying to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to
Minutes
get
are-
at, to make sure that we don't have to wait another month for us to approve these minutes.
No, I
A
got
waste of time. So if we put a resolution forward right now,
Yeah.
then that can be looked at on March 14th, correct?
Yep.
Yes, okay, so
I
what
will
do we do,
check with
guys?
them.
What do we think? We need to do make a resolution?
I'll
Yeah,
type up something tomorrow. My husband is going to be gone for much of the day on meetings, which
Okay,
means
that's great.
peace and
So
quiet will,
Can we have the wording for
prevail.
resolution then,
So,
please?
yeah,
Jen-
I'll put up something tomorrow.
No, let's,
email
well,
you
might as
all.
well, why don't we just put it together now? Then you don't have
Okay,
to worry
sure.
about having to develop it. So would somebody like to
Absolutely.
initiate a resolution for council?
Mhm.
I think you-
Yep.
So that the EAC recommends,
That we strongly recommend the immediate pursuit of this project or something.
Sorry,
Gary
yeah.
said it better.
But put in the date, especially for 2022, as Paul had mentioned earlier.
Yes.
I think that we
Yeah. We need to
Explore.
let them know we want to move it now, not later.
Okay.
yeah.
So, Gary, you're trying to say something? Explore, let's not explore, but let's make sure that we're not, Paul's shaking his head. Let's just make sure this doesn't drag out till.
I don't want to explore it. I want to do it.
Yeah, so.
I get what
yes,
you're
Gary,
saying, but
we
I mean,
appreciate
it's
your, yeah.
I get what you're saying, but you still have to apply and see what the conditions are, whether you're eligible or not. We may not even be eligible.
That's what we need to find out, then that is what I guess
That's
that's
right.
what
You
should
need to
that
Express your
be.
interest and apply for the program and get the information and see if you're able to do it, right?
Right, so let's reword that and give that to Janice then, please.
Yep. I'm
Gary,
going
do you want
to
to just
use
repeat that?
express interest.
Between what Claire's saying and what Gary's saying, we can have a good compromise. ahead,
think
Gary,
that-
start
I
up.
think what you want to say is that you would recommend that council immediately pursues this opportunity with the Canadian Wildlife Federation on project for 2022. Right.
How's that? Can I have a motion to accept that?
Yep.
You all agree? Yes, I think that's great. Makes sense, Bob?
Yep. Works for
Excellent.
me. If there's any issues at Doug Robertson's end, I'll let you know, but there shouldn't
Okay.
be.
So
Then
we'll
I
get
can-
that resolution, and then Janice, you said so they can get it
Yep.
and have that as part of their agenda for March 14th.
Yep.
Great.
Check your inbox first thing in the morning.
Oh, you're awesome. Great. Thank you, everybody. This is exciting. It's a positive thing, right? I think that
Yep.
we could sink our teeth into. All right. Any questions? Any further discussion about it? We're nearing the end at 6 o'clock right now. Nope. Okay. Have a motion to adjourn then? At 6 o'clock?
Sure.
Thank you, Claire.
I'll second.
Great. And next meeting in March 23rd, I think it is.
Yes.
Yes, March 23rd. Okay, great. Thank you, everybody. That wasn't so bad.
Thank you.
No?
Looking forward to it.
Okay, that's great. And thank you for taking the minutes there, Janice.
Oh, you're welcome.
And we'll see
Say,
everybody
I'll get that resolution out first thing. Minutes will take a little longer, but
soon. Nope, that's the resolution
that's
should
the
be the
main
priority. I think that
recommendation.
would
We
be great.
want them to move on. So that'll be there for you right away.
Excellent, Janice. Thank you. And thank you, everybody, very much.
Have a good
All
evening,
right.
everyone.
Okay, we'll see you
Right on.
soon. Okay, bye.
Bye.